bound to its power at birth, the Sorcerer is an exception within the game of Dungeons & Dragons, as one does not seek to become a sorcerer, they simply just are. Welcome back to the next episode in the class Color series. And yes, you guessed it, this episode is all about the Sorcerer. In this video, I want to discuss how you can apply the colorpie to the Sorcerer class, and in doing so, create a more robust character. To do that, I will first take a look at the class colors chosen by Wizards of the Coast in the Magic set Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. Then, I will discuss its effectiveness and finally present my own theories as to which colors and combinations suit this class and why. That way, when you build your next sorcerer, you'll have a better perspective on how to express your character. Have you ever wanted your very own sleeves, playmat, or mousepad but never could find ones with art that resonated with you? Well, with yourplaymat.com, you can make your vision a reality. I personally got a set of sleeves with my logo on them for Commander, and I couldn't be happier with the quality. If you use the link in the description of this video, or use the code DICETRY10YP at checkout, you'll get 10% off your purchase, and directly support this channel. Thanks for your time, but I know why you're all here, so let's get back to the subject at hand, the Sorcerer. As I mentioned earlier, the thing that makes the Sorcerer unique is that it's the one class that doesn't seek out its power, as its power lies within it all along. This has an interesting effect on the personality of a sorcerer, in that a wizard, for example, often consists of blue mana because it takes a scholarly mindset and dedication to achieve that magic, whereas a sorcerer must instead come to terms with the abilities it has been handed. And it's in how the sorcerer deals with this aspect of itself that dictates its colors. Does the sorcerer revel in its power? Do they fear it? Or do they wish to master it and bring it under control? Over the course of this video, I will explain what color or colors are at the core of this class. But before we do that, we do need to take a look at the class colors chosen by Wizards of the Coast in the set Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. From there, we'll have a bit of a starting off point and a spark of an idea to then proceed with 3 of my own examples of potential sorcerers. But as always, remember that there is a lot of freedom when it comes to designing your characters. So if I don't cover a color or combination that you feel fits the sorcerer, then be sure to let me know in the comments. The Sorcerer class card in AFR was given the combination of blue and red. And while off the cuff, this does seem like a perfect fit, that is, if you come from Magic the Gathering and you imagine a blue-red faction like the Izzet Guild, the problem with this being its core combination starts to fall off the more you spend time breaking it down. Sure, a blue-red sorcerer could exist, and we will discuss how, it's just I would never call this combination its base, or a defining combination like we did with red-green and the Bard. In MTG, blue-red is often spoken in the same breath as the Izzet Guild, a guild that is wild with its inventions and its take on science. But aside from its explosive nature, I'm not too sure that this fits the sorcerer's mentality, in that it's more a superficial way of looking at this class. So let's break it down, because there is still something there. The blue side of a sorcerer is honestly one of the weaker colors in my opinion, as blue means mastery, it means perfection, and it means efficiency. To me, this color isn't quite how I would define a sorcerer, at least not as a core color. As I see it, blue's traits aren't inherent to this class. But in the case of a sorcerer that does consist of blue mana, what we have is one that wishes to find out the extent of their power, of its potential. And that in itself is a very interesting motivation. But with all that said, I want to talk about the other color present, red, as I think we're going to find something a little more special and a color more aligned with what a sorcerer is. Red is the color of expression, of pure impulsive passion, and to me, that defines a sorcerer much better than blue could ever hope to. Red, in many ways, is what makes a sorcerer what it is. If we look at it from a mechanical standpoint, I do find it interesting that the sorcerer's primary stat is charisma. And honestly, I don't think that's an accident. The sorcerer is all about acting out the very real elemental forces that swirl within it. And it's in how it interprets these forces that make it what it is. So what does it mean to be a blue-red sorcerer? Well, of course, as I've said, this character is passionate and is true to itself, but at the same time is eager to master the power that is their birthright. This type of sorcerer almost takes a wizardly approach and wishes to unlock every bit of magic that is held within, in order to reach its potential, but at the same time is eager to do so in the pursuit of simply enjoying unlocking and mastering these aspects of itself. The blue-red sorcerer is a source of introspection and explosive realization. This version is fascinating, but I want to move on to my own ideas. So for my first combination, I want to take this one step further by simply adding black to the mix and dropping the blue. We will hold on to that red though, as to me, red is very much one of the core colors of a sorcerer. Note that I said one of, but what that other color is, you'll have to wait a bit longer to find out. The black-red sorcerer is more than a handful. To some, power granted freely is power that must be respected, but to others, this power is a sign of their importance, and because of this, they wield their magic only in ways that suit them. The abilities of a sorcerer can come from many places, and take many forms. We typically think of sorcerers who are granted elemental magic, but there are those that are granted magic from darker places. And the magic that springs up from those sources fit quite nicely with a sorcerer like this. The red-black sorcerer is comprised of two sides. Its red side makes use of magic that is quite rash. It can flare up with their anger and consume those who stand in their way. The red side also is what gives them their charm, as they know that it takes more than magic to get what they want. Pair that with its black side, and you begin to see why this is so dangerous. The black mana present creates someone who is arrogant because of their birthright, a character that acts only on its behalf, one that may work with you and your party, but only so long as it suits them. When you bring both black and red together, you get honesty and arrogance. It's the type of character that only sees their side of things and will act out as it wishes. This way of thinking drives this sorcerer's actions, and in every way its birthright affirms that inflated sense of ego. You can now see that the black-red sorcerer is a dangerous pairing of colors. They may say with power comes great responsibility, but not the black-red sorcerer. No, to them, with great power comes a hell of a lot more power. Now, I know our first two examples showed the explosive nature of the sorcerer, as its red side being present makes them unpredictable. The problem is that with that same explosive nature, it can lead them to do things that are out of their control. And because of this, some sorcerers have hurt the people they care about the most. An event like this early on in their life could very well eat away at them and weigh heavy on their conscience. So for this version, I want to drop the red entirely and do away with that pesky black and see what kind of sorcerer comes from these circumstances. Let's talk about a white, blue, green sorcerer, also known in Magic as Bant. Due to some traumatic event involving their very own magic, this sorcerer decides that they were given a burden and not a birthright. They accept their destiny due to their green side, a side that I firmly believe is another contender for core color. This color allows them to see the bigger picture and to accept what they are and what that means. With green present, they are aware of such things as destiny and know that they have no choice in what they've been given. And because of this, they must find what this power means for them. In this version, their destiny is dictated by their white side, a side that sees the damage they can do, but also the support they can grant. This sorcerer feels like they were given an opportunity, and they don't intend to squander it. To accomplish this goal will take discipline and a will to master their magic, and to that end, they lean into that blue side. With this aspect of their personality, they're able to maintain control over their power and to use it in a manner that is productive. With such a stark contrast between this Bant Sorcerer and the red-black one, you can see what I mean when I say that character creation is all about motivations. That said, I do want to dive into what I believe is the ideal base model for the Sorcerer. To do this, I'm going to drop the white and blue and bring back red to see what a red-green Sorcerer would be. To me, the red-green Sorcerer is a natural fit for the typical version of this class, but let's break it down to see why. As you are aware at this point, the red inside of the Sorcerer is a strong contender. It speaks to a class that is all about the true power held within, and the application of that power in expressing itself. Due to the nature of its abilities, the Sorcerer is often volatile, in that its magic is wild and can result in the use of magic that is out of its control. It is this wild magic that gives the Sorcerer its definition though. It's a level of chaos and unrestrained power that's unmatched by many of the other classes. On the other side, we have green, a mentality that applies a strict philosophy of destiny and of carrying on the traditions of its forebears, in that it's acting out its legacy, and in doing so, finding its place within the grander scheme of the world around it. Green is also the color that accepts the role it was given, and will carry it out with a sort of honesty that the other colors might miss. When combined, we see that the red-green Sorcerer is one that is pure of action, not trying to be anything else except what it is. The font of power coursing through it is the source of its being, and in acting out the will of that very power, you may find the truth of its existence. Sure, sometimes that very application can be savage and unpredictable, but in the end, that's the true nature of the red-green Sorcerer. It is a class that did not ask to be what it is, but it accepts the fate handed down to it. Consider this: the Sorcerer is a class that does not seek out its given role. Instead, it is the one class born into that role, and the magic that put them there has many sources. And because of this, it becomes truly hard to pin down one core color. If I were to place a core to this class, I would lean into red-green, but really any color or combination could work, almost more so than any of the other classes. Let me show you what I mean. In white, the Sorcerer is a character who sees that their power is more than an inheritance. It is a responsibility, one that it intends to use for the better of others, even if that means weakening itself in the process. In blue, there is the desire to master its gift, to find the root of that power and to unlock its potential. This Sorcerer holds more in common with a wizard. It's just that instead of seeking magic through learning, it instead wishes to perfect the wellspring of power within it. When we get to black, we see that true power can corrupt. It may not shift the Sorcerer into evil, but it will leave you with a character that is arrogant, one who feels better than others because of that given power. In red, there is an honesty to its actions, a need to simply feel the extent of its existence. This Sorcerer can be wild and explosive, or could simply want to have fun with that magic. We see this in the strength of its charisma stat. This shows us that the Sorcerer is charming, intimidating, and exciting. Finally, we see in green that there is a link with destiny, and the desire to find the truth of where their strength came from. This character yearns to understand this aspect of themselves so that they may find a purpose that is bigger than them. However you play your Sorcerer is really up to you, but be sure to take into consideration the source of that power, how they feel about it, and what they intend to do with that. If you keep these 3 questions in your mind, I'm sure the next time you make a Sorcerer, they'll be much more interesting and robust characters. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Color Class series. It ended up being a little bit longer than I was intending, but I know personally after writing this video, I will be building a Sorcerer when I have the time once again to play D&D. Stay tuned for the next episode in the series, and if you do want to stay in touch, then be sure to follow me over on Twitter. It's honestly the best place to get a more personal insight into who Dice Try is. Links to that and everything else down in the description. With that, friends, I'll catch you in the multiverse. Bye.